Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I want to get this out, let you know that it's not just airplanes that I harp on about poor quality. As you know, I've been a Boeing, predominantly out about Boeing and letting you know about their faux pas for 22 years of negligence, and they did. 2002, they put out two supplier notifications. One for heat treatment welding, that's called NADCAP by Performance Review Institute, and also they in July of 2002 they put out the supplier bulletin for having your AS9100 certificate only by ANSI ANAB accreditation. We're going to continue on, and the thing about it is they took those documents off of their webpage, Boeing's supplier portal, this past January 2025, because I brought to the forefront April 17th, 2024, at a Senate subcommittee meeting with Sam Salapar, who was talking about the 777, 787 Boeing aircraft design issues. I stood up and I showed those documents to the DHS subcommittee, and now those two documents have disappeared. They've also disappeared with the factor that Boeing itself was sitting on their accreditation body's website, and the web page that said Management Committee can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification with other companies as well. So they did a lot of constrictive work. I don't think they're. If you don't hear Daryl Gibberman being part of Boeing, I really mean that. I'm a shareholder. And you know what that says about the company? When they don't respect a shareholder, don't fly. Honestly, but let's continue with this. We did some analysis on this, and this video is called "Splintered Skies of Fatal Maintenance Failures Behind the Bell 206 Crash Over the Hudson." Ladies and gentlemen, business owners, my fellow leaders, and those who travel a lot and want to go on these tourist rides, hold on. Hold on. On April 10th, 2025, a Bell 206L4 Long Ranger 4, operated by New York helicopter tourists, plunged into the Hudson River near Pier 40, killing around 6 aboard, including a family of 5 tourists from Spain and their pilot. Eyewitnesses described the aircraft spinning erratically, then splitting in half as rotor blades detached midair and the tail boom separated before the fuselage hit the water. Primary findings by the NTSB indicate a maintenance flub and an engine lubrication anomaly led to a sudden power cutoff, leaving the pilot with no chance to recover. Videos and crash scene photos show the tail boom and main rotor components scattered across the river, textbook evidence of a catastrophic in-flight structural failure. This tragedy is not an isolated incident. Over the past decade, the same operator and model have suffered alarming failures. June 2013, a Bell 206 lost power and made an emergency water landing on the Hudson. The NTSB traced the cause to a maintenance error and engine lubrication anomaly, eerily similar to last week's crash. 2015. Another sightseeing Bell 206 spun out of control and a forced landing in New Jersey. Investigators later found faulty, previously damaged parts had been installed without proper inspection, here we go, or replacement. 2009. Mid-air collision between a tour helicopter and a small plane over the Hudson killed 9 people, highlighting systematic vulnerabilities in New York's low-altitude flight corridors. Each of these events shares a common thread: poor maintenance and insufficient oversight. In the case of the April 10th crash, the NTSB's identification of maintenance error underscores my hypothesis: lapses in routine inspections, misapplications of lubrication standards, and failure to replace worn components allowed a small defect to escalate into a fatal breakup. As I talk about Boeing, Boeing's the same way, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, I don't make this up. As an aerospace quality veteran for over 40 years in aviation, medical devices, and advanced materials, composites, non-ferrous alloys, titanium, and more, I've seen how the smallest oversight can cascade into catastrophe. The Bell 206 two-blade rotor system demands exacting attention to: 1. Drive shaft alignment and bearing health. Misalignment can induce vibrations and loosen fasteners. 2. Lubrication protocols. Using the wrong grade or failing to follow torque check intervals accelerates wear. Number 3, corrosion control. A saltwater environment like New York Harbor require more frequent structural inspections. In every prior incident, a properly executed maintenance program guided by independent audits would have caught these issues long before they became deadly. We cannot wait. We cannot wait for more bodies to be recovered before we act. I call on federal and state regulators, the FAA, and industrial stakeholders. The FAA is useless and useless. The FAA, let me just interject this sidebar to this. The FAA allowed Boeing to self-regulate, self-certify their own aircraft in 2009. They allowed them to do their own aircraft technologies like the MCAS system that killed people, 346 people. And then to make matters worse, let them do the design too. They made Boeing employees, some of them Boeing/FAA inspectors, getting paid by Boeing. Ladies and gentlemen, who do you think that those inspectors for Boeing FAA are going to have their allegiance to? Of course, it's going to be Boeing. And to make matters worse, the CEO of Boeing is not just the CEO, but he's also a de facto FAA administrator. It killed 346 people. On top of it, after those two planes went down, the Ethiopian Air and Indonesian Air, after they went down, do you know what the FAA said? We never allow companies to police themselves or self-certify. I've got the documentation. And if Boeing doesn't have the balls enough to use Daryl Guberman, you should not fly on a Boeing. Take an Airbus. And this is for Airbus. Boeing. And let's continue on. Mandate independent maintenance audits for all commercial tour operators, especially those in saltwater environments. Enforce stricter lubrication and fastener torque documentation with random spot checks by the FAA. Yeah, don't worry, the FAA was like, go do it yourself. Sign it off yourself. Unbelievable. They failed us. Require accelerated corrosion inspections for any helicopter operating over water. Implement a safety-first whistleblower protection program so maintenance crews can report deferred repairs without a fear of reprisal. Tour helicopters carry families, business leaders, and visitors who trust us with their lives. If we fail to address the root cause, poor maintenance, we risk repeating history time and time and time again. Let this disaster be the turning point. Let us honor the lives lost by ensuring no other rotorcraft tears itself apart in midair. Safety must be more than a buzzword. It must be an unwavering commitment. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't make this up. This is absolutely a disgusting thing. When I saw that helicopter video yesterday, I already knew it was maintenance. I have friends of mine who fly. They said, Daryl, we fly till we die. That was him. In fact, the person who used to fly had passed, and he used to say, Daryl, I used to fly to get my hours in. He said, the maintenance on the helicopters are terrible. The more hours on the ground and maintenance, the less money these people can make. And you have to turn around. The helicopter has a 5-minute flight, 1, 2, and they take a lot of stress and strain. My number is 203-556-1493. And again, this is about Splintered Skies, the fatal maintenance failures behind the Bell 206 crash over the Hudson. I thank you.